Debbie Z. Lattuga here with another episode of Business Bridge to Breakthrough. And I'm really excited because I'm interviewing someone that I call a coach. I don't know if that's how she defines herself, but as a coach, all my best friends are coaches. I love working with people that are helping other people. I'd like to introduce you to Emily Bissen, and we're excited to get in and learn her story. So thanks, Emily. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, listen, can you give our listeners and viewers kind of the version of like what led you to launching your business and like what was that vision when you started?
Yeah. So I spent 3.5 years working for a global business coaching franchise in Wisconsin and was their business development specialist and realized that the clients that we had a hard time connecting with other people and other businesses in our community and then outside of our coaching community. And that was a skill set that I had, and I could identify opportunities of people who needed to meet or connections they needed to have or resources they needed to get in touch with. And when the values of the business I was working for shifted outside of what my values were, I decided that I was going to take my skill set and build a business helping other people identify opportunities and strategies for growing their business, but in a way that allows them to do the work that they love and have a life outside of it at the same time.
Yeah. And what was that vision? And I know some people, the vision is more of a feeling. What was that vision you had when you launched? Like what did you imagine 5 years down the road from the day you kind of said, this is what I'm going to do?
There were a couple things. So one was that I was only going to work during the hours that my kids were in school, and I wanted to teach other people that they could do the same. They could build a profitable business in a few hours a day because the school days are shorter than I realized, and that they could actually do something that they enjoyed. Because before I worked for this coaching firm, I didn't actually believe people loved what they did for work. I was like, people just go to work and they get paid and then they do the things that they love outside of work. But then when I was doing the work that I actually loved and connecting and building relationships with people in this coaching firm, I realized, no, you can actually, this is what I love. I love connecting people. I love learning about people and figuring out how I can help them and solve a problem. And so my vision was to have more people do the work that they actually love, but also not, I'm not going to say waste your life, but kind of not waste your life just doing whatever you do for work and making money, but also have the time and space and energy to do the things that you love to do outside of work. So it's a movement more so of how do we do what we love and also build a life that we're excited to live.
Yeah, I love that. I also thought that people did jobs. I always used to say, well, that's why they pay you because people wouldn't do it for free, right?
Mm.
That's why they give you money in exchange for your time. And then, much like you, as my career progressed over the years, I end up getting a job that I loved. I didn't know it was going to be a dream job until I got the job and actually did it. And then from there, I kind of went, well, what do I want to do next? But now I know how to have a dream job. So the next job was also a dream job, right? That I was like, well, this is what I would like to do next. That one was a dream job. Then the pandemic came, and I'm like, well, I'm the dream job girly. So how am I going to find my next one? And actually thought that during the pandemic, I wouldn't be able to find a dream job because, we're limited. Third dream job, and simultaneously launch my business, which is also a dream job. So what's beautiful about what you're doing is once you teach people how to kind of do the self-assessment of like, what are your skills? What do you love to do? Where's the market gap, which is the Ikigai framework. Once you've learned that, you don't ever unlearn that,
Right.
right? And when opportunities come along, you look at it and you're like, well, that's not fitting in with my, like what I'm good at, what I love, right?
Mhm.
And you change people's lives. So I love that you experience that and now you're helping other people experience that as well. Because we have, society tells you you can't build a business in 5 hours a day. You can't have a job that you love, or you can't do work that you
Right.
love, or you can't have work that's meaningful and make money.
Mhm.
And you and I both know that that's simply not true. You
Yeah.
can have that. You've got to want it.
Yeah.
It doesn't come without work or effort or whatever, you've got to be committed to it. And it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. For those people, though, that are really committed, um, as long as they have someone like you that can show them the pathway, I like to say a coach is the flashlight on the path, right?
Yeah.
Here's the path. It was there. You couldn't see it. I'm going to help you see it so that you know how to move forward.
Yeah.
I had a great coach one time said you can drive across country in the dark with your headlights on and all you see is 20 feet ahead of you, and yet you can get all the way across the country by only being able to see what's right in front of you. And a coach turns on the headlights for most people, right, where you helps you see at least the next 20 feet,
Yeah.
right, in how to move forward. So, I know it's not all wine and roses. Every entrepreneur has road bumps or things. So what can you share a time where you hit a challenge that felt kind of big for you? What that challenge was and how you ended up navigating that?
Yeah. The best example is right after I started my business. So we moved from Wisconsin to Seattle, and I was starting over and starting a business at the same time. So building a new community in a new place that I'd never been before. And I started my business thinking, well, the thing that people need is a contracted business development person. Somebody will hire me to do business development on their behalf, and I will get paid well for that as they get new clients. And I did that. I had clients right out the gate. I had a waiting list of people who wanted to work with me. I probably could have made $10,000 a month, like right out the gate. But I hated every second of that work. I hated it. And it was exhausting. I had one client, they hired me for 10 hours a month, and it took me until the end of the month to get all those 10 hours in because I just couldn't stand doing that work. It was just
Yeah.
didn't feel empowering. It didn't feel aligned. And so at the end of that year, I fired them. I fired all of them. And I started over. I started with
That
zero
must have been
clients.
scary.
Huh?
That must have been scary.
It was, but it was also, as soon as it was done, it was like this weight lifted off my shoulders. And I gave myself a minute to just be like, this is okay. I know that the right opportunities are going to come in because my energy now is open for new opportunities.
Mhm.
And within the first month, I had 2 new clients. The second month, I had another client, and I doubled my revenue for several months after that because I was doing the work that I actually loved. And so the biggest lesson I learned is you can make money doing pretty much anything. But if it's not in alignment with the work that you actually love to do and is in the energy that you're best at, it doesn't make any sense. Like you can sell a lot of things, but if you're doing something for money and not alignment, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot and be exhausted because it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I think a lot of business owners fall into that trap of, well, this is what I'm doing and this is the way I'm doing it. So this is the way we're going to have to do it, right? And
Yeah.
it takes a really empowered entrepreneur to stand back and go, especially if you've had a dream job, right? I don't like this work. This isn't working for me. This is not fulfilling. It's sucking the life out of me.
Yeah.
How do I, in order for me to move forward, I'm going to have to pivot. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs tolerate
Mhm.
because they don't know that they have the power to change it. They're like, well, in most cases, they're like, well, I'm not going to sell my business.
Yeah.
So how do I pivot it to find the fulfillment, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes it comes from they're not leveraged, right? So they're working 80 hours in their business and they're so they're burnt out. So
Yeah.
how do they step back? You and I talked before the call about behavior profiles and the
Mhm.
disc profile, which is an analysis of people's natural behavior, whether they're driven, whether they're interpersonal or social, whether they really like stability and things to stay the same, or whether they're really analytical. And sometimes we have a business that we love, but we're doing the wrong role.
Right.
We're not in the right role for our natural behavior. And I was very lucky to my first dream job. As I'm learning about behavior, what they kept saying over and over again is if your natural behavior is not aligned to the job description, you can do the job, but it's going to cause stress. You're going to be outside your comfort zone and you're going to hate it. So even though I really needed a job at the time, I knew that if I wasn't the right fit for the role,
Hmm.
they were going to say no. They didn't want to hire me, but I also wasn't mad about that
Yeah.
because I believed them that I've done jobs that suck the life out of me. I don't need a job that's going to suck the life out of me. I have one that's sucking the life out of me. Thank you very much. I don't want to trade it for another job that's going to suck the life out of me.
Hmm.
Very happy to find out that my natural behavior aligned with what their vision of that role was. And it was a dream job, right? Because I was doing work that I love with a skill set that I have, with behavior that was easy for me.
Hmm.
Um, and yet, most people don't know about that, right? So I love that you're helping entrepreneurs, especially parents, whose biggest priority is their children, right? Find that pathway to find that work that they love.
Hmm.
So, where do you see your business in 3 to 5 years?
Um, that is a really interesting question. That's one I'm navigating right now. But one of the things I realized is I can't do one to one to one to one forever. And that I will need to leverage my time and create ways for people to get access to information that are going to help them without me having to be in the center of all of that. So
Yeah.
I'm working on developing some group opportunities and some maybe a framework that people can use outside of me. Um, but I want to continue to do the work that I'm doing in the time my kids are in school so that I can actually spend time with them outside of school and help as many other parents realize that dream too, is that our kids grow up really fast.
Yeah.
and and if we I heard this quote, I think it was last week, that said our job is to convince our kids, we have 18 years to convince our kids that we're worth having a relationship with. And that really like hit me in the heart, like, oh yes, now is the time to be doing that work. And if we can show them that they can do the work that they love and also have a life outside of it, that is going to be one of the best lessons we can teach them, because then they'll be able to be more discerning about where they go to work or who they go to work for, and what's either a value match or not, based on what's important to them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that you use that word value match, right? Like what's important, what are our values? And I love how diplomatic you were about saying that our values didn't align. That first dream job I left because of divergence of values, right? I'm like, this now no longer feels like the right fit
Yeah.
because the owner of I was the CEO, the owner of the organization wanted to go in this direction. I didn't feel like it was the right direction. He hired me as the CEO, which is basically to make decisions about the growth of the company. And yet, it started to diverge, which is cool, right? It's his company. He gets to take it in whatever direction. It just wasn't a match for me. Um, so may I make a suggestion that popped in my head when you talked about like your vision?
Yeah.
Um, it's something to put on your planning board, which is I think you also may have an opportunity because you work with parents that are working during the school hours. You might find another coach that might want to come into your organization who hasn't figured out how to lead generate, right? You're transitioning from 101.
Yeah.
Make sure that's something that's also in there. Of course, then you're moving into management or leadership, and you may or may not want that. But that would be another opportunity, is
Mhm.
finding a coach you were aligned with that also wanted to help parents, that you
Yeah.
could then help teach your frameworks to, that they could then be able to kind of get that message. And then there would still be, or they may not be doing the 101 service, but they may be able to have some other sort of leadership role to
Mhm.
be able to interface with your clients that's not you, but knows how you speak and what's important to you. That's another opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially because you're working with people who want to have an opportunity while their kids in school, that would be someone who would be available in the
Yeah.
hours, at least if they were in the same time zone, the
Yeah.
same hours that you needed. If you had unlimited resources, what's one change or improvement you'd make in your business today?
Oh, I'd hire an ops person to do all the behind the scenes stuff. I'm really good at the people facing stuff. I'm really good at writing and creating content, but I don't like to manage my CRM.
I know some ops people. We'll talk after this. I know some ops people that are worth having a dialogue now because you never know where there might be synergy in
Hmm.
advance of when you think you might be ready to do that. So
Yeah.
I have a couple people in mind. How do you balance working in your business, working on your business? Because I find the business owners I work with are so stretched in their business. In fact, that's why many of them hire a coach because it gives them perspective to kind of step outside and think about what are the things that are going to move my business forward.
Mhm.
How do you balance that? Because you also, like many people, running your business isn't your only opportunity. You have a family, you have other obligations. How do you manage that?
I have to have days where I don't talk to people. I have to, I've decided that Mondays are my day to work on my business, to work on the processes, to work on responding to emails, getting things scheduled, and Friday afternoons are a way to sort of wrap up the week for me. Because when I first started, I was like, I need to cram in everything I can and talk to as many people as I can in one week. And then I was exhausted because I went from waking up, getting the kids ready for school, taking them to school, hopping on a call, talking all day, then going to pick them up, and then talking to them until they go to bed. And then by the time I was done, I'm like, oh my God. So I recognized that I needed some time for creative thinking and processing, and I don't actually schedule meetings before 9 a.m.
Yeah.
So that I have some transition time between dropping the kids off at school and then getting ready to do client meetings or networking calls. Um, and that's been really helpful.
I remember my first dream job as a CEO, and I had been blessed to be an at home mom up and until that time period and help my husband with his businesses, which is why I had the experience to be able to run an organization. But that was based around when the kids were, I was only working when the kids were in school. And I remember that first week coming home after working all day and saying to my husband, I'm so sorry I asked you to talk to me when you walked in the door because I just worked all day. I got zero battery. I got zero energy. And I just apologize for the amount of arguments I started because weren't ready to walk in the door and have conversations.
Mhm.
I'm sorry because we need an hour. And besides, we're moving right into family time, right?
Right.
Right into, I said, I'm going to move right into doing what needs to be done. We can talk after the kids go to bed because I don't have the energy. Um, what's one piece of advice you'd offer someone that was struggling to take their business to the next level?
Do an audit of what is actually bringing you joy in your business. Figure
Yeah,
out what is the work that you actually love doing every day, and what are the things that are feeling like an energy suck, and either hiring out that work, scaling your business in that way. I had one client when we first started working together, she went from me to we, doubled her revenue in the first year, added like 16 members, and then the next year doubled again, and has been able to do more in less time and also take a lot more vacations because she was really clear on this is my role. These are the things that I'm going to work on that I enjoy. And then the rest is going to be delegated to my team. And the faster you can do that, the faster you free up the energy you have for the things that you actually love. And then you can talk about it and you're excited about it. And you become magnetic to the people that want to work with you because they're like, yes, that's what I need. Instead of like, yeah, I sell this thing that's sort of cool and I hope that you want to buy it for me. The number of people I told to quit their jobs when I was networking in real life before the pandemic was astounding. And they were like, what do you mean? Why should I quit my job? Is that because you don't actually like what you're doing or you don't believe in what you're selling? And they're like, yes, I do. Your energy tells me different, buddy. Find a new
right.
job.
If
I
they
can't.
don't light up when they start talking about it, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm going to hold up a mirror for a second. So, when are you going to hire that ops person?
This
Because I
year.
think you could double your business in the next year if you did.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the year that there are a few things that started this year that I'm shifting around and getting a little bit clearer on, but that that is my goal for this year, is to hire
And
someone.
I absolutely believe you can hire the ideal person for you. So let's say you start with having them set up canned responses for your emails
Mhm.
that you send, right? So
Yeah.
you can find someone willing to take a small chunk of ops,
Hmm.
right? And do that. And then be willing to grow, and willing to grow with that opportunity, right? And then just step into more and more
Yeah.
opportunity to take over. So you can, and I know you know that. Just reminding, I know as a coach, I'm the bottleneck to my business.
Totally. Yeah.
And I have a coach because even as a coach, I can't see that. I see the block, I see the
Mhm.
roadblock, but I can't see any way around it. And
Yeah.
that's usually because I'm looking at it from this perspective, right? You need more of that Friday time where you're standing up and saying, wow, so I don't have enough time. I need to hire an ops person, don't have the resources to hire an ops person or the time to train them, right? Because it could be that, right?
Mhm.
Because when you're hiring, too often I see business owners hire someone thinking they're the solution and not recognizing that when you hire that person has to be taught how to
Right.
be your solution, but
Yeah.
you don't have the time. And we love to have these miracle people come into our business that just know how to do what we want them to do. But there needs, a lot of times you have to slow down and your business takes a hit when you bring someone on because now you're training them and getting them up to speed. I learned a great framework from John Maxwell, right? The leadership guru, who's written 60 books, I think. And he talks about I do, we do, they do. People
Mm.
think, well, I don't have a training manual. Well, if you do the I do, we do, they follow you for a week. They watch everything that you do. Or if they're just handling a small part, they watch you handle that small part. They
Mhm.
take notes. Week two, they're integrating and doing some of the things you're observing it before they hit send on the email. So you're doing it together and then they're doing it, but you're then checking on them and making sure that the standard is still high. And I
Yeah.
share that with business owners. They go, oh, I never knew about that framework.
Yeah.
So if you don't, by the way, their job is to create your manual for that role because they are doing that role. They can also be the one creating that manual that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people think they need to have that training program put together before they hire someone. If you're, especially if it's administrative, they can, that's what they can do, is to document what they do with the vision, of course, that they then can train their replacement and they step up into a bigger, broader version in your business.
Yeah.
Where can people find you if they want to reach out and they want to explode their business that they own and they have kids? How do they get in touch with you?
LinkedIn's a great place. Emily Bissen on LinkedIn, or blueheronbusinesspartners.com.
Cool. Well, this has been awesome. Is there any kind of parting words you'd like to leave for the parents out there that they'll take away after listening to this podcast?
That if the vision is strong enough to build a business in the time that your kids are in school so that you have time outside of their school day to spend with them, you can do it. It is absolutely possible. And you can't build a business like a single man. So
Yeah.
stop trying, because it's
Yeah.
not going to work. And the clearer you can get on the life that you're trying to build, the easier it'll be to align your business to that.
Yeah, that is such a great point, right? You have to know where you're going in order to make sure that you're getting there. And too often we sit with where we are and try to figure it out instead of saying, what do I want my life to look like?
Yeah.
What do I love doing? What lights me up? Then working backwards. That's just great advice. Well, thank you to all the listeners. This has been another fabulous episode. Thank you, Emily, for joining us. Another episode of Business Bridge to Breakthrough. You can find us wherever you find your local podcasts. If you're listening to us, you can come find us on YouTube because we do have video. And if you're on YouTube and you'd rather find us on audio, you can find us wherever you like to enjoy your podcast. Thanks, and go out there and make some more money and make some more joy in your business. Have a great one.